So, hello everyone, my name is Lauren White. I am a Cisco Systems Engineer, and I support the entire Chicago as well as the state of Indiana. Very excited to be able to speak with you all about our newest innovation at Cisco called the Network Intuitive. So for today's presentation, I want to focus on an aspect of that intuitive network called software-defined access. You will hear me refer to software-defined access as SDA sometimes, or even SD access. So I wanted to say that up front because we have a lot of acronyms sometimes. I wanted to be clear that we're on the same page. So let's go ahead and start with the agenda. So for our agenda today, I want to begin with the why. Why is the Network Intuitive one of the biggest innovations Cisco's made in the past decade? Why is SD access so important? Then, of course, we'll jump into what SD access is. What are the components that comprise this solution? And really get under the hood to see how these components operate with the technology that Cisco has to make it come to life. And then lastly, let's talk about how SD access is consumed. So there are many ways that you can get it today. I'm not sure the networks that you have today, so I do want to really focus on that part to see how available it is for a lot of you in the room. So why? Why is Cisco making such a transformational leap with their traditional networking business? Well, for starters, there are some major transformations happening within technology itself that's driving the market and organizations everywhere to become digital. The first being mobility. More and more devices are expected to be on a network. I mean, your average employee, even me for instance, I have my cell phone, my smartphone must be connected, my laptop, and even my tablet. And this isn't an option, it's more so that employees are expecting the support for their devices online. They want to be able to work from any device, right? This brings me into the second pillar here for this digital change. Cloud applications. Jason spoke to this as well. Public cloud infrastructure is expanding. Customers everywhere are using Box, Office 365, AWS. We want to work from anywhere, right? Which really sets the stage for why this third piece here is so important. Security. Jason eloquently talked about the changes we're seeing with security and why it's so important. But imagine employees that are not working in the office anymore, right? The firewall can't protect them. What happens when I'm at that local Starbucks accessing information that is not hosted at my office? It's hosted in box.com. How am I being protected there? So we see that technology is changing, and really what that means is that we have to do the traditional networking differently. And the truth is, networks are hard. They are not easy to manage. They are not easy to do. I mean, Cisco has an entire certification, the CCIE, Cisco Internetworking Expert certification, just to manage networks, right? So with that being said, we have to look at how we can do these things differently, right? Because they do take a lot of expertise. So what's the first problem with networks? Well, one is they're difficult to segment. More users, more devices translates to more VLANs, more subnets, and more of configuration on the back end. Another major issue is the fact that they're difficult to manage. So with many disparate networks, with the LAN, the wireless LAN, and the WAN all being in different places and inconsistent policies across them all, how do you really manage them eloquently? It's difficult. And then the third is just the scale, right? Being able to troubleshoot all these different users at large scale is difficult, and our networks today make it even more difficult to handle it. And then from an operational perspective, I have statistics here. I won't go into them, but I'm sure a lot of you here today can attest to the fact that a lot of issues are manual, and it takes even more time from your day-to-day to go in and manually configure changes. It takes a lot of time when there's a human error that you can't put your finger on. Sometimes you accidentally press something that you shouldn't, and it can cause havoc in the entire network. So we are having companies everywhere spend a lot of money to find out how to get that visibility they need in their network. And overall, it's just, again, the same theme is that this is, with the digital business and with the scale that we're moving at, we really can't keep up working like this. And that's exactly where software-defined access and the intuitive network fits. The vision that we have for the intuitive network is, to me, similar to like the self-driving car. It seems a little scary, but it's really what we need, right? Imagine a network that can self-heal, right? We're looking at this future, the end goal of this being able to say, you know what, there are issues in your network, and before they cause any employees any issues, we're going to alert you beforehand so that you can be proactive and fix your network. That is where we want to take this. And Cisco is uniquely positioned to bring this to the table because nobody knows networks like we do. We've been doing networks for 30 years plus. This is what we do. It's in our heart and soul. But to make it better, we've integrated security within it. So Fifth Column is here. Love Fifth Column, a very strong security partner of ours. Love NSI, right? We're talking about security, but it's built in with this solution from the jump, from the gate. So this is what we want to do. We don't want it to be an afterthought. Like, how about we protect and put a firewall? We already have that covered from the policy level, from your access point. So that's really what that idea is. And I haven't talked directly about SD access, but I will in a moment here. Just want to briefly just talk about a few use cases here. Secure onboarding of devices. Right now, I have a customer. It took them about, I think, 53 hours to put a small site together, and that's really too long. That's more than a day out of the network, him flying out to Detroit to get that site set up. The networks that we're talking about today, where Cisco is taking this, is him just sending a box out and allowing someone that's non-technical to just plug it up and it just work. That's where we want to get to things. Save you time, save you money on traveling. This is what we're talking about here from a performance perspective. Visibility, analytics, those are kind of buzzwords that we hear a lot today, but honestly, this is going to help make your lives easier. If we can troubleshoot issues from the root cause, it's golden after that. You don't have to worry about all those calls at the help desk, trying to determine exactly which router is happening, what subnet that user is on. We're aiming to have this all policy-based so that you can see in clear text exactly what that user, what group that user belongs to, and have all of that in a GUI-like format. And so that's really what software-defined access is. It's a policy-based automation system, all managed from a central GUI. In the past, Cisco has not always had a good reputation on management, and I found that out working with customers that have been Cisco customers before I was probably born, and they tell me that you all don't know how to do network. Like, management, it is not good. They say it in a different way, but we have worked really hard to change that. Like, honestly, we have put in so much, like, there's so much energy. Even my CEO, Chuck Robbins, has talked about this, and this is where we're going, and this is something that you could trust. And so that's what SD Access is. Components, there are 4 main components that this solution is comprised of. The first, here at the bottom, the infrastructure, the routers, the switches, the wireless LAN controllers, both in physical form and virtual form. That is what will build the fabric, and I will talk more about that fabric in a second here. Then we have the identity services engine. That is the identity piece. Who are you? What type of device are you on? What kind of access do we want to give you on that device? Does it differ? Where are you accessing the network from? Those type of questions are answered with this identity services engine, and that is the engine for the policy throughout this SD Access solution. On the right side of the slide here, we have the Network Data Platform, NDP, and that's the analytics engine. Today, it's coming out in November, so it's not available at this moment today. But when it comes out, this is going to be the main place for troubleshooting and understanding the health of your network. And then the piece in the middle, APIC-EM, and I purposely mentioned that last and in the middle there because it brings it all together. That's the automation piece. It's a controller. So what it's doing is taking the information from these other engines and pushing it down to the device level, pushing it right into the fabric. So those are the components, but on top here is DNA Center. That is the dashboard, the central plane of management for everything within this SD Access infrastructure. There's a few workflows that we have, and we've set it up to be very easy. I wish if I had more time I could show you that demonstration, but it's a very simple workflow with the first phase being design. What does your network topology look like? Yes.
Lauren, how does network data platform differ from Tetration, StealthWatch, and you guys got about 4 different products in this space? How is it?
So that's a very good question. So Tetration, from a network data platform perspective, it's more focused on the campus. Let's kind of set it for the campus, and it will be something that you won't have to configure. It's on the back end, and this orchestration will do. This DNA Center will orchestrate everything. Tetration is more data center applicable, and StealthWatch, I'm glad you brought that up. We will talk about StealthWatch. So StealthWatch will be working with the NDP platform. Yes, that's a great question. Is anyone in here using StealthWatch or? Awesome, great. Thank you for that question. If any other questions, please let me know and I'll feel free. The first is design, right? What's the topology? How many sites do you have? What subnets do you want associated to which sites, etc. The second is the provision phase. This is that onboarding of devices. This is creating groups. Where's the engineering group? This is the HR group, et cetera. These are the PCI servers, because we're going to talk about segmentation, right? That's all a part of this solution, which is security, and it fits really nicely in here. The third is the policy. So now that we have these groups of devices, now that we have our users, now that we have everything in the network that we want to have there, what can they do? What can they access? Where are we allowing individuals to go? And so that's the policy piece, and again, driven by the identity services engine. And then the fourth is assurance. That's the analytics piece, troubleshooting, and that's brought to you through the network data platform. So from a high level point of view, that's really what we're bringing to the table. Again, I would love to show you the demo. It's really, really good, and it'll show you that workflow. Now, to get a little into the weeds, but not too much, I want to talk about how this fabric is put together, because it isn't magic, right? And I know that a lot of people in the room may be concerned with what we're doing to get us to this step that we're talking about here, right? So we talked about the components, but the protocols that lie and work with these components are all mature technologies. For the control plane, we're using Lisp, which is anybody familiar with Lisp in the room? Locator ID separation protocol. The way I think of it in a very high level point of view is it's like a big map system, and it helps you scale. So imagine we have this for our control plane, this mapping protocol in place. For the data plane, the encapsulation method will be VXLAN. So very high level here again, VXLAN is an extendable type of VLAN. So VLANs go up to like 4,096 different unique IDs, whereas VXLAN can go up to about 16 million, I believe. So that's the scale. So we don't foresee anyone running out of space there with all the different devices that people are bringing into the network every single day. And then from the policy plane, identity services engine is the engine that's pushing the policy, but from a hardware level in the fabric, it's TrustSec. Has anyone heard of Cisco's TrustSec architecture? So again, that's a tagging system. It's done right at the hardware level, and that is what's doing the policy. So behind the scenes, and I'm sure any of you can attest to the fact that those are not really that simple to configure when configuring some of those, like Lisp and some of those different technologies. We're doing it for you in the back end. And all you have to do is look at the DNA Center dashboard and create the policies using those workflows I discussed. There's a lot going on this slide, and I included it because I would like to send it out to you when we send the material out later. But this just shows that every single device in the network will have a role, and again, a little under the cover here, under the hood, I should say, of what and how these different devices are operating. Last thing, just want to say again, DNA Center is the dashboard, whereas all these engines are fueling that dashboard. Just another slide to kind of show the overlay of what those protocols will provide, and the underlay being the actual hardware. And this is just something to be included. I don't think I have to spend a lot of time on Identity Services Engine, which we affectionately call ICE, because it seems many of you in the room are familiar with it. Again, it's just the who, the what, the where, the when, all those questions. It's even the how. So speaking of security, what if I come into the network today, I am a trusted employee, right? But my device has a virus on it. Do you want me to get the same kind of access that I would get if I wasn't infected? Because I could potentially infect others. Perhaps you would like to put me in my own, like in a segmented area of the network, or allow me limited access to some of the important databases to ensure that a ransomware attack or something like that does not take place. ICE will do that for you. And again, now we're doing this from this DNA Center dashboard. All the orchestration, pulling the policies from ICE is being done by that controller. And we know controllers, right? We've been doing it with wireless forever, pretty much. So it's that type of concept. Again, it's powered by ICE. I really think that the fingerprint is a good way to depict how Identity Services Engine works, because every single person, and depending on the device they have, can be like a unique fingerprint, how all of us have unique fingerprints, and so we give you the right type of access based on who you are. So we talked about why SD access is important, what it is, how it's working under the hood, but how can you consume it today? If you wanted to try SD access right now, what would you need? Well, these are the different devices that is running on today. I want to talk to you about our new switches. I'm really excited about those, and I will. So if we could kind of ignore these for a minute, but 4500E, everyone familiar with that? Modular catalyst switch. SD access can be supported. The 6Ks, it was one of our best-selling switches. Nexus 7700 with the F3 line card, but the Nexus 7700 is supported. And then the Catalyst 3850s and 3650s, which are our most recent switches before our new announcement of the 9K switch. From a routing perspective, ASR 1000s, all 1Ks, the 4400 series of ISRs, even our virtual routers. Wireless, the 5508 is not supported, as you all see. I'm not sure if anyone is using the 5508 in the room today, but that one is not on here. Another switch I like to mention that isn't here is the 4500X. Anyone use that switch? The 2960. That is a switch that a lot of my customers love, the 2960, but because it does not have a programmable ASIC, it will not be able to run SD access. It's all about programmability, right? And our Wave 1 access points, Wave 2 access points, which that's a pretty good. And then if you have any industrial Ethernet switches, if you have a manufacturer, if you are a manufacturer, those kind of devices are supported as well. Now, what I'm excited about is this new line of switches that we've released. So the Catalyst 9300s are really a direct replacement. You can think of the 3650s. So that type of access and functionality. 9400 is our replacement of the 4500. It's modular. It comes in you can get the 9504, 9507, 9407, or 9410. However, the 9404 is not shipping right now, but the 7 and 10 slots are. And then the 9500 is really like that next level 4500X. It's that fixed aggregation switch. This thing is really beefy in terms of what it can do. It has, you can get 24 ports of 40 gig. We can talk, and I have included slides later in here too that have the different specs. But I've had customers come to me and they've been concerned about these new switches because usually new things out the gate have bugs and issues, right? So one thing that I would like to say, I have not come across anyone with an issue with them yet, but the chip that we're using in these, the second generation programmability ASIC, was used in our 3850 40 gig switches, if you're familiar with those. So to me, it's like it's been out, right? Because that chip has been used in other switches. But again, I haven't had any issues. I really would really say go with these new switches, because I'm a very security, like before coming to the field here in Chicago, I was in San Jose and I focused on security, so I hold security very dearly to my heart. And these things are ready for security. And this next slide shows you a technology that Cisco has. I don't think anyone else in the industry has anything like this. And this is what the 9Ks bring. So we talked a lot with Jason about security. These things are happening. Malware likes to come in through encrypted tunnels, right? Because you can't see it. Decryption takes so much, it's so resource intensive on your hardware that most people don't even want to bother with it, right? You'll just let the traffic in. And those bad guys, the criminals, want to be let in. That's all they need, right? All they need is that click, everything we talked about earlier. So what we can do with the 9K switches, in addition to StealthWatch, which I'll talk about in a minute here, is detect malware in encrypted traffic. And this is like really game changing. And when I heard of this, I was really excited. And then when I saw the statistics behind it, we have tested this on real malware. Were you excited about? Oh, 5 minutes. I'm sorry. I apologize. No, thank you for that. I apologize. Thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you for that. And I'm really wrapping up here. You can detect malware in encrypted traffic. So it's phenomenal. There are some, I can go into the detail of how that works as well. Very, very, very cool. There's even a video that I would like to send out from a Cisco Live conference where the engineers that actually built that technology talk about how they do it. Mind blowing. But this is only available on those 9K switches, so that's an advantage. Again, I just really want to emphasize how serious Cisco is about security, that we're integrating this into the network. Whereas, this is a forethought for us, not an afterthought. This is before anything. We have security woven in. And the way to consume that today, in addition to the hardware piece, is StealthWatch. So StealthWatch, think of StealthWatch as, it looks at NetFlow in your environment and it understands what a normal environment looks like for you. And the moment we detect something out of the ordinary or some kind of anomaly, we'll be able to analyze that and then trigger alerts to let you know that we see that. And then in combination with the identity services engine, we can then remediate those issues and quarantine users or endpoints, servers that seem to be acting maliciously. So I'm wrapping up here today, but I'm really excited about where we're taking things to the next level, and I hope that you all are too. And if you have any questions, please let me know. I'd be happy to give a demo, whatever it is that you would need.